Just then an angel flew down over to Isaiah and picking up a piece of burning coal from the altar, he held it to Isaiah's lips, saying, "This has touched your lips and made you clean. Your sins are forgiven." And then Isaiah heard the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send to speak to the people? Who will go for us?" Isaiah said, "Here I am. Here I am. Send me. I'll go." So before the coal touched his lips, before the heat and the clean feeling of that coal touched his lips, he said, "I'm afraid. It can't be me." After the coal touched his lips, after he was made clean, he said, "Here I am. I'll go. Send me." Can you tell what this is? It's just the outline of something you've seen before. Stem and the grapes. Well, imagine these grapes. Imagine a fence around these grapes. After this vision, Isaiah told the people something else that he had heard from God. Isaiah told the people that Jerusalem, the big, beautiful city, the city for God, the city that David had made safe again, the city that David had made a place for God's people. Isaiah told the people that that Jerusalem would be destroyed. He told them how a lovely vineyard had been planted by God on a beautiful hill, and it had been surrounded by a strong hedge or fence. God thought the vineyard would grow. He thought it would grow good, sweet, delicious grapes. But instead, the grapes that grew, they were bitter, wild grapes, not yummy at all. So God had taken away the hedge that surrounded the vineyard, and so animals and people could walk right through, no more fence. The grapes were bad. The grapes were not good. So the fence had been taken away and the vines became trampled. They became overgrown with briars and thorns and weeds and other plants that grew into the vineyard because there was no hedge to protect it. The rain did not fall on the ruined vineyard. And so the brambles and the weeds and the trampling animals and trampling people and who is Isaiah making way for? Well, one day Isaiah's prophecy came true. Do you remember how he said that Jerusalem would be destroyed? Well, one day it was destroyed by people from Babylon, the Babylonians. They took over Jerusalem, destroyed the temple. And many of God's people were taken away to live in exile in Jerusalem. Outside of Jerusalem. They were taken to live in exile in Babylon, where the Babylonian people were from. They had to live in exile, apart, separate from their home, away from Jerusalem. Exiles lived in a strange land. It wasn't home, and it was far from Jerusalem. And one day, Isaiah came to the people again, and he said, "Listen, get ready. Make straight in the desert a highway. Make a straight path for our God. God is coming to be with you. Make a straight path for him to reach you. God knows each of you like a shepherd knows his sheep." God knows you. Make a path for him to reach you. Make a path for him to come to you. Don't be afraid. Get ready. God is coming. Another time, Isaiah came to the people and said that someone was coming. Someone who is chosen by God and in whom God delights. Have you ever heard that word, delights? Delightful. Someone that brings God joy. Someone that makes God happy. Maybe even giddy with delight. Someone was coming in whom God delighted. This one, Isaiah told them, will teach the people and refresh them when they are tired. This is a special person. But this person would be despised, hated, disliked, rejected, told to get out, told to go away. This person was the one whom God loved, but the people would not love him. Not the way God did, not the way he should be loved. Isaiah kept hearing these wonderful things from God. He kept listening to God, and he kept sharing with the people what God had said. Another message that happened to come to Isaiah's heart through God, another message that he shared, was that he told the people to remember all the way back, to remember all the way into the past, when the great family began. We just talked about that. Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Jacob, Israel, Ruth, Samuel, David. Isaiah told the people to remember all the way back to Abraham and Sarah, to Moses. And when they had come through the water into freedom, remember, he said, when they remember and tell these stories, they will know who they are and where they came from. These stories will be like a statue cut from a rock to point the way. Isaiah said, remember the past. Remember your great-great-great-great-grandparents. Remember the stories that made way for you to be here. Isaiah said, remember the people going through the water, escaping slavery, and building an altar to point the way. Don't forget. Remember. Isaiah continued to listen to God, to hear God's words, to pay attention to what God was saying and how God was getting the people ready. And Isaiah told the people of God to get ready. They were going home. They were going home, he said. So they should prepare by making beautiful clothes to wear. If you're going home to celebrate, going home to be, wouldn't you want a beautiful outfit to wear? Isaiah said, prepare by making beautiful clothes. Because when they put on these clothes, it would feel like they were already home. Isaiah told the people, get ready. Get your mind and your heart and your actions ready. Because your actions and your heart and your mind can make you feel like you're already home. Well, some of the people actually did get to go home one day. They got to go back to Jerusalem, rebuild the temple. Some of them stayed in Babylon, but many of them went home. And the temple was built again. Then God sent even more prophets. More people were receiving messages from God. More people were hearing the words of God and helping the people get ready. They started to teach and bring hope. The prophets helped the people to get ready for all the good things that were coming. God was sending a message of hope. I just realized, by the way, teachers, pause here. I was wondering what was missing. When you talk about the exile, when you talk about being away from Jerusalem, being kept from home, you'll lay the chain down as a symbol of that exile. Sorry, I forgot that. All right, let's continue. There's still more that Isaiah heard. There's still more that Isaiah shared. Isaiah continued to listen to God. Isaiah continued to hear from God. Isaiah continued to share God's messages with the people of God. This is when Isaiah spoke again. Whoops. This is when Isaiah shared, and he said, "No rain." After all of that, the vines withered, dried, died. The vineyard didn't make it. Already Isaiah has said some really important things, hasn't he? Well, another time, he told the people about a light. Isaiah said, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light." The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. But what was that light? What was the light that shone in the dark? It was the brightness and the warmth of a good harvest, of having a heavy load taken off your shoulders, of a baby child being born to show the way. This light was a child called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Do you know who this light in the darkness is? Do you know? It was Isaiah getting us ready for.